I think the thing was that whenever I reached out to you, I always got a reply back. So for me, that felt a little bit more comfortable than I would have felt otherwise, because otherwise you can feel lost when you're on the journey all alone. So, there has to be a person who's guiding you through it, who's been with it through a lot of people. And I think there were these cementing quizzes in quant that used to go forward with every particular section coming on. So, it really helped me understand, okay, this particular section was where I lacked. So for me, it was algebra and inequalities per se. So I know how to focus my time on, and, I used to know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. So I think it really helped me break down on what really to pursue.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another debrief session with eGMAT. Today we have with us Vyom, who recently scored a 715 99th percentile on his attempt. So welcome Vyom, and thank you for joining in.
Thank you, Ava. Actually, I'm feeling really great right now.
Yes,
The paper was yesterday, and today, I can't believe I scored that 715.
Right.
It's been some time for me ever since I started my journey. I think it was back in 2023. So I started with a score of 640 in my classic. Right now, it's a 760 equivalent to classic. So at that time, 760 was like a holy grail score, and now I've achieved it. So everything looks fine with the world again.
Yes. Now, taking a step back, Vyom, we know that before this attempt also, you have taken a couple of more attempts, but did not go much as planned. Right? So when you look back at your journey from your 645 to 675 and now to a 715, what would be the key learnings that you have learned along the way?
Well, I think when I moved from that 640 in the classic to that 675 in the focus edition, so I think primarily one thing that I understood pretty well was GMAT is not a game where you try to learn those formulas or where you try to do as many questions as possible. It's not a practice game, but it's rather instinctive and inherently very. It's something that puts your brain to work a lot, because I think every question is different, but the concept behind it stays the same. So I think that learning was essential key for me cracking that 675. But I think GMAT has its tricks. It lets you think that maybe you have accomplished that quant score or that verbal score or that DI score. But when you are in that test setting, I think everything goes wrong. Everything that can go wrong goes wrong. So I think one of the things that I really thought I was prepared for was when something goes wrong, how to react to it, how to do away with it. So I remember taking those mocks with eGMAT. So what used to happen with me was I used to get stuck on this one question, and then it used to be like a really high flag over there, and then another high flag over there, and then last 2 or 3 questions I couldn't do and they were easy, easier than I can even possibly fathom. So I think that was one of my learnings. So if you break down my scores, so you'll see that one question is about 8 minutes. But the thing was, I had about 5 minutes in the end for my quant section, and then I went back to it. So I think it really helped me with all this pressure, because I know I had one question wrong, and that was my goal in that 5 minutes. And I could really focus on it rather than thinking about what's going to come ahead, what's left behind, and everything. So I think one of the key things was taking in the pressure. And the second thing would be, I think we all think that we have done it, like we have accomplished one particular section. So for me, that thinking was about quant. So I took a paper, so I used to get about 84, 85 on the quant. So that's below a 98th percentile. So, going from the 90th percentile to that 100th percentile, I think one of the things that I had to understand was there's something and somewhere I lagged in quant. And I think there were these cementing quizzes in quant that used to go forward with every particular section coming on. So, it really helped me understand, okay, this particular section was where I lagged. So for me, it was algebra and inequalities per se. So I know how to focus my time on, and I used to know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. So I think it really helped me break down on what really to pursue. And even after all those analytics, I think that commonality about algebraic inequalities came out to light, and that's where I really improved. And I think a Q90 was amalgamation of all of these experiences with me.
Right. So when you came to us, you were already at a good level. You were already at a 675, but there was still obviously a definite scope for improvement because you were aiming for a 700 plus. Right. So when you talk about your journey from the start, could you break it down and elaborate on how you went about the whole process on the platform and how things changed for you?
So I'll tell you one thing. I signed on to eGMAT. Like, I got a reference from one of my friends, so they were like, at least try out eGMAT, because I was very much apprehensible to this concept about trying different test providers, because earlier I had chosen different test providers. So as soon as I enrolled, I think one of the things that was highlight for me was I suddenly get this one mail, okay, this workshop is happening. Why don't you attend it? Maybe it will help you out. So I think I met Dhruv over there. So we spoke about my goals. We spoke about everything. And I think it was really helping me out about how to shape my trajectory going forward, because he helped me out with about how does the course work, about how does eGMAT platform works, and he told me that about twice a week one of these sessions happens. So feel free to drop up whenever. So I think the next biggest surprise was you, Abba. So what happened with me was I was just visiting through my mail, and suddenly I get a mail that okay, you have been upgraded to this one particular course, and you can actually use our mentors for you, so they are personalized for you. So I was like, great, fine, but I had that me sarcastic tone, like, okay, how much are they going to help? Because I have been a person who learns on his own, probably not even from videos, probably from just the context itself. But I think one thing that did pan out for me was like you really cared as a person, as a team, as a mentor. So I remember you being sick one time and somebody else filling in for you. So I think the thing was that whenever I reached out to you, I always got a reply back. So for me, that felt a little bit more comfortable than I would have felt otherwise, because otherwise you can feel lost when you're on the journey all alone. So there has to be a person who's guiding you through it, who's been with it through a lot of people and everything. So I think in that journey, what happened with me is like once you started speaking with me about this one particular topic is bringing out these brackets, red flags everywhere. So I remember my first mock was Q90, but after that, I took the cementing courses because I knew I'm not getting a Q90 on my GMAT, so I got it on my mock. So it might just be a little bit like a fluke, but once I started taking those cementing courses, I knew it was a fluke. So I knew I had to really adapt. I had to really change my strategies. I think quant was something I was like, hey, let's move ahead of quant and then like probably work out on my DI, because my DI was about 81 out of 90. So I was like 9 points to go. So that's where I need to make my improvement. But I realized that quant is something I'm really suffering from, even though I do not really understand it, because even though I got my maybe two or three, maybe three or four questions wrong, but it's just that difficulty level dropped down. So that's why I got those three or four down. Otherwise, it would have been maybe 5, 6. So I think that tailored perspective and the need of a student being met by a person being there all the time, providing those analytics, providing those weaker areas and those calls. I think I schedule a call once a week. You are always there for me. So I think that bring out a whole picture about this caring perspective of it. And then I think what really worked out for me was it was very much separated out. So there was this thing, okay, you need to learn this concept, so you go through this concept building quizzes, concept building platform for this one subject. So even within those, there were different quizzes to test my ability right now, and then to measure it. Then there were these cementing quizzes that really validated a hypothesis per se. Then there were these sectional mocks, and there were these mocks. So everything was going according to the plan, and it was very dynamic. Like let's say I didn't do very well on a sectional mock, so I can always come back to these cementing quizzes, figure out where I lagged, and then maybe go on that path again. So I think that really helped shape me about how to break it down, and it's more about the structure that eGMAT provided for me that worked out for me.
Right. Now, talking about the DI, because while the DI was good, we know specifically MSR was something that you had a very different strategy when you came, and you were also with the mindset that maybe I'll just skip it blindly and not attempt it, or what should I go about, right? So there were a lot of thoughts that we had discussions over calls. So I want to bring this into picture because I know this is a very common question that a lot of students have, that when we're doing a DI section and we have to do time management, do we really put in the effort to MSR, or how do we take that call? So why don't you elaborate on how did you go about tackling MSR? What did you notice from your quizzes? What are the patterns that you noticed? And then how do you move towards your DI section?
Well, okay, before talking about MSR, I can tell you one thing. So for me, data sufficiency was my key parameter where I was really great, because I used to get above a 98 percentile, and I used to get it around 1 minute 30 seconds on an average. So for me, my thinking was let's do this strategy that let's make out time from data sufficiency and then put it to MSR. So that's what I tried to do in the first attempt. So in the first two attempts, what happened with me particularly was I gave about 5 minutes to MSR. If I can understand, I am going to do it. If I don't understand, I'm not going to do it. Both the times something happened. So, I was under this pressure on the clock that 5 minutes is the dot time, whether or not I do it, or whether or not I do not do it. So, even if it's a doable MSR, I think because of that time boundaries I put on me, I think I lagged on MSR. And to be honest, so I got 1 out of 3 correct in both the attempts, but that one was always a lucky guess, to be honest, because at the end of the day, I put 5 minutes down and then I skipped the entire thing anyway. So then I was very much in this zone that, okay, this is my probably last GMAT attempt. I have to nail it down. So, you can review those 3 questions. So whether or not I skip MSR. So I think I was really for skipping MSR. I think you were rather, let's not do it. Let's just at least put it into perspective. Let's try to build upon it. I was like, I understand it's my weaker spot and let's just get it away with. But I think it really helped. So among DI, I think 50% of my time went into learning MSR because I did
Mm.
everything from the concept, I did everything from the basic, and I think I've never done it even for a quant section or even for a DI section because I knew I had this self confidence, but over there because I knew this is the parameter I like, I started from the beginning and then I started moving towards it. So I remember skipping a few quizzes and then you were on me that you really can't do this because otherwise it doesn't work. There's a proven methodology and everything. So I think again that helped. So I scored 100% on my MSR again. So 3 out of 3 correct. I think that too within less of 6 minutes or so. I can
Wow.
always share my scorecard any day. So, but I think that structured thinking comes into perspective. There are 3 types. How do you go about it? Okay, so what me and you discussed was okay. I'm good with CR. I'm good with constraints. I'm good with this one. Only one problem that I do face was case study based MSR. But in the end, case study based MSR showed up. Instead of skipping it, I moved through it. I started understanding things. I then again moved through it, and I was like, it's the easiest MSI I could have hoped for. I went ahead in full steam, and I got 3 of them correct. And I think that was
Wow.
the major turning point for me in my DI score for sure.
Right, right. Now, like when you started progressing, obviously in the final stages, you were back into the mock phase where you started taking mocks again. And since you have prepped before, I know you have taken mocks before too. So was there a change in strategy or something that you tried differently this time around with your mocks?
So okay, so I stuck with the basic mock, which was QA, verbal, and then DI. So what I used to do prior was I used to complete the classic edition of
Right.
GMAT QA and verbal, and then take a break and then come back for DI.
Yeah.
So I think one of our discussions was very much helpful for me. So what I understood was once I'm in that gear for quant, once I have done and accomplished quant, I know everything in my mind just makes sense, and I'm in that kind of flow. So we decided to put DI second and then verbal third because the thing was my verbal was so I took about 10 mocks on MBA.com and I think my score was either 85 or 86.
Yep.
On a 2 GMAT, I took it was 85. So, I think I wasn't doing very well. I think my score was fixed about 84, 85, 86. So, I knew whatever I do with verbal at the end of the day, it's going to be around 85 plus minus one deviation. So I was like, let's put it aside. If I'm in that low, let's take advantage of it. So that's exactly what I did. So after quant, I put DI in. So it really helped me out with my quant section. So if you look at the quant DI percentile score, I scored about 30 percentiles higher in my verbal based DI score. And I think it was possible because of that, because I was in that flow. And what happened with me is, I think in every question I stayed about 15 seconds just because of the flow. So, in the end, those 15 minutes started to bunch up. And in the end, I had about 4 minutes on my hand. I went back to DI. Although it didn't pan out for me. So what happened for me is I knew these 3 questions are wrong for sure. And I knew that they were really hard. So I tried stroking my mind around them. I knew I had to do something. It didn't pan out. But, I had those 4 minutes. Maybe if I had chosen a different question, it would have worked out and I would have gotten 100%. Well, maybes are maybes. But then again, those 4 minutes were because of this quant to DI strategy that I had in me. And then these 4 minutes, really, I think it could have been a game changer for me. Even though it didn't pan out, maybe it pans out for somebody else. You never know about that.
Right.
Also, so one last thing I would like to say about this was I used to be stuck on one question because I knew I had to get a Q90 in order to get a 99 percentile because my VA85 was fixed. So Q90 was the most easy way
Important
for
thing,
me
yeah.
to So it was the easiest way for me to get that percentile because getting from Q85 to Q90 was easier than getting from Q81 to 86 any day for me,
Right.
for sure. So I had this in my mind that I had to do it perfectly with 100% accuracy. On a test day, that was different case for me. I knew I could have escaped easily one or two questions I wasn't getting, then come back to it because you have a fresh mind, you are focusing, and something really happens is inside your subconscious mind, it's solving that question. I think it just strikes a chord whenever you see the question again. You see it in a different light, and it just happens. So I think that's something you really taught me very well to just let it go and then come back to it. Otherwise, I think I might have messed this one also up.
Yep, yeah. I think that is something we really worked around with, and it was not that easy, to be honest. Like you really had to, because you were coming from a mindset that I have to get everything correct and I cannot let go of a question. So it did take you some time. I know till the
Definitely.
last moment.
I think definitely because if we looked at those first 10 questions at quant and then last 11 questions at quant, I think those first 10 questions I used to take about 30 minutes and then last 11 I used to take about 15 minutes or so because I was running out of time almost always. You never, and the thing is, let's say you get those 10 correct and then the difficulty is only going to go up. So, you can never get those 11 questions correct in 15 minutes anyway. So I think that strategy also works out. Maybe leave one, come back to it. So, the next questions are a little bit here and there. But again, that's a different perspective. We never know about the algorithm that goes on to play.
And at the end, I think it's the presence of mind. What decision you make then there, I think that makes a difference. Right. Now, talking about the final test, Vyom, like, why don't you walk us through your test experience? I know, since you've given tests before, there might not be a lot of surprises with respect to the test center, you're better prepared. But was there something that you would always keep in mind that, okay,
Yes, 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 yes.
yes. So I think
Definitely. I tell you.
that's where, people would be really keen on
Okay,
listening
so
to.
first advice from me would be have a good night's sleep and
Mm.
don't do anything the night prior. I literally talked to one of my friends who is in Mumbai right now, so he's studying over there in a college. So I was just talking to him, and he's very much worried about me. Tomorrow is your lice, one of biggest lice paper, and you're talking to me here. I was like, it helps me relax. It helps me put me in that sweet spot, where I can focus tomorrow. So maybe just relax the day prior, have a good night's sleep. I think one thing I didn't like was so because of the temperature in the room, no. So I remember having to go to the washroom a lot. So I didn't drink water at all. So I
Mm.
made it a point to not to drink water because the last time I had a problem with it. So I made a point not to drink water. And even after all these papers I've given, so I reached test center 2 minutes prior to when they would have knocked me out because the thing is my paper was scheduled at 12:30. I reached at
Mm.
12:28, and
Mm.
then the person was like, "You are supposed to reach at 12, and if you come 2 minutes later than this, we have to cancel your paper." So be cognizant of the fact that you're reaching the center on time because even if you're doing everything right, that just might go
Change
against
things.
you one
Yeah.
day, and then you are in this spiral downfall. Another thing I would say is before, so I think eGMAT says like a deep breath strategy. So
Mm.
when something wrong is happening, take a 2 minute deep breath to yourself,
Mm.
close your eyes. I did that, not saying you should do it, but take
Mm.
a deep breath so that you are disengaged and then engage properly because something inside your mind just goes into a downfall when something is
Yeah.
not going right. And I think you need to break that flow and then re-energize and start towards it. So it's something like you're motivated again per se, and rather than going down in this one spiral. So I think that's very important. It happened to me once during the verbal section. Like we were just discussing, I think I wasn't sure about that verbal 85, even though that should be the most surest thing in the world because
Yep.
I felt this one downward spiral one time and then I knew I had to pick myself up. I think I took a 4 second deep breath over there, but I think it worked out because 4 seconds
Good.
is nothing compared to the bigger picture if you look at it. So
Yes.
be sure to really take a deep breath when you're stuck. Be sure to take a deep breath when you're on the next question and really try to be engaged particularly. So what I did is I put down those earbuds because a headphone is too heavy on my head and
Mm.
earbuds really help with the surrounding sound. So, in the con section, I remember putting them inside. Then I was like, it doesn't make a difference. I took them outside, but it did make a difference. So for me,
Mm.
I would suggest that put those earbuds in because you are in that zone then. Well, I think it's a
Right.
transcendent feeling to be honest. Well, you're never going to get that time back.
Right. So true, so true. And like when you look back at your journey, because it's been, you've had your own shares of ups and downs. So what would be some of those do's and don'ts that come straight in your head and you're like, if I had to do like this again, or if I had to suggest someone to do GMAT, these are something that are straight, do's and these are straight don'ts.
Okay, I think everyone would agree that GMAT is a paper that's not based on somebody's intelligence per se, but maybe on
Mm.
common sense. It builds
Mm.
upon your foundational skills on how well you have equipped yourself in it. So, one thing I felt in my first attempt was I was trying to run through the syllabus. I was trying to just get it done with like what are the different concepts, what are the different things that can happen. Maybe these are the variation of the questions. Coordinate geometry was a thing then, so I remember doing that over there then. But at the end of the day, it's more about just knowing about that concept. Like one small things come to my mind is mod of x minus 8 is equal to 10. So
Mm.
essentially what it says is from 8 x is from 8 about 10 units away. So you just
Mm.
need to know about that concept and then you can build upon it for your entirety. So I think that's a do.
Mm.
Once you're doing it, do it with your heart, even if it takes about 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Just do it from your heart instead of rushing through it.
Mm.
One do would be that, and that's the biggest do.
Mm.
And one don't, well, one don't would definitely be cognizant about what time you're starting. Because
Mm.
let's say I have had long day and then I get into it. I think my mind isn't into studying a lot. My mind is wavering here and there. My mind is tired. So I particularly what I did is I ate my food, I talked to my family, then maybe I just watched the show for about 20 minutes. So I used to binge watch Big Bang Theory in these times. So
Mm.
I kept it to one episode because that was 20 minutes. Now I've
Mm.
had a break of about 1.5 hour from my struggling life. Then I used to get on it because I know those 3 hours can amount to about 6 hours. So I
Mm.
think that's something I used to do during my 12th class boards. It did pan out then also. So I think really being in that zone when you're studying is a big do. And you should never be trying to muggle up all these things together. Like you're at work, you're trying to get a half hour break, and then you're trying to study over there, and then you're like, "Hey, let's move on to the next question." So never do that because again, GMAT is trying to test about what you know rather than how much you know.
Right. Right. I think that's very well summarized, Vyom. I think straight do's and don'ts, what anyone, I think, from the starting or be it at any stage of their practice is something that they can definitely squeeze in and pitch in and should help them. So on that note, Vyom, I think I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for taking our time today and doing this interview. And we wish you all the best for your application. Stay in touch and keeping our fingers crossed so that we can hear the EdMIT news also soon from you. Yeah? Thank you, Vyom.
Thank you so much.